All right, how is everyone doing? I am Rich CELENZA. Thanks for tuning into the Rich CELENZA show. So, one of the questions I get asked pretty often is, why is your YouTube and podcast ever consistent? Did I say that correctly? I think so. And my answer, to be truthful with everyone, is because I'm not consistent. What's that famous saying? The only thing that's consistent is that I'm not consistent, or something in that nature. That's basically me. And I get a lot of times, if you go to my YouTube channel, you'll literally see me in, for the first year of it, it was just kind of a traveling thing. I was just doing it for fun. I didn't know what the fuck I was going to do. I was just shooting videos because my engineer just said, Rich, just shoot some video. And I was like, I don't want to get in front of the camera. He's like, just go shoot it. He said, just shoot your favorite, restaurants, Italian restaurants. You're always in Italian restaurants. It seems like when you post stuff on Facebook, people seem to really like it. And I'm like, yeah, but everybody does that. And they're like, yeah, so what? Just do it. I don't know how he convinced me to do it, this young kid, but I did it. And it kind of filled a void because at this point in time, I was exhausted from doing all the things I was doing. Plus, I was in the middle of making a program and an app. And of course, I'm a lunatic. Why don't I do something else in the meantime? I always got to do usually two things. Why don't I do three? And then let's throw in a podcast like a lunatic and do four, like, plus travel, plus do the program, like I said, do the app. Why not just, and then I wonder why I'm lost in space. And that's exactly what I'm talking about with my consistency. It's a perfect example. I'm talking out loud right now. Is that's kind of the life I've always led. I'm not a guy who's just going to get up there and say I teach, I try to help teach men how to master their self-confidence. I cannot be a douchebag that gets on my podcast or my YouTube channel constantly and talking about confidence. I can't do it. It'll kill me. Then again, with fitness too, I like doing fitness and people seem to be responding. I think it's maybe my age, and I think younger people for some reason kind of dig me because my age demographic is like 18 to 35, and I like that. So I wonder if my age demographic would have jumped up higher if I would have not been as enthused, but I like younger people. Not saying that I don't like middle-aged people, obviously, but I like helping the youth because I think a lot of times younger men get taken advantage of, and women. And if I can, I'm kind of like a hindsight guy trying to help them maybe go through what I've gone through. But back to my YouTube channel, I'll just say, for instance, it was kind of the Italian restaurant / coffee house. Then I started to just do gym tours. I don't know why. One day I just started to videotape some of the gyms I went into. Kind of fell into that, and then before you know it, I started to do some videos on confidence, and then the next thing you know, I'm doing videos on many different things. I mean, it's just kind of whack. I go where my energy leads me. Same with my podcast. A lot of times, when I was doing my podcast, I'm heading up into 400. I still don't know what I'm doing with it. I originally was going to do just podcast interviewing people on like voice memo. I wanted to be simple. I traveled a lot. I started to do some. They were okay. I was whatever. Then I was thinking, let's do the Bill Burr thing. Again, I'm not nearly as talented as Bill Burr. But him talking into, say, a voice memo or doing his own podcast where he just talks. I said, I'll do that and just kind of give out information. I started doing that for a long period of time, plus throwing some interviews. Then COVID hit, and I said, you know what? You always kind of want to do a legit kind of podcast. Let's start off with Zoom calls, and let's do like 45 of them in 2 months. That's how, 45 days. 2 months. I knocked out 45 of them. I wanted to test it with all, not everyone, but most of the unique people that I always wanted to do a podcast with. I reached out to them. We all had more time because it was COVID, and we did it, and I loved it. But the truth was, my numbers plummeted on my podcast. Not sure why that happened. Maybe I had a certain platform that was working with me just speaking, or me once in a while just incorporating my girlfriend or whoever. But it did not work out well for me. And after a while, me doing interviews, as much as I loved it, it was very daunting. The editing was a lot longer, and the scheduling, and sometimes it just didn't go the way I wanted as far as views go. So I went back to the platform that I'm kind of on now, along with having a co-host. So that's something new as well. If you listen to my podcast, Robert Beninati from 365 Realty, he's a great guy that I met a little bit ago, and we do podcasts sometimes together. And he has his own podcast as well, Real Business, besides his real estate business. And we have a pretty good chemistry and we have fun. And I like that. Out of all the podcasts I've done, I kind of like ours the best. And not that I love interviewing other people, especially friends, family members, colleagues, and interesting people. But it's interesting when you do kind of get a co-host going and, you got a good rhythm and you also kind of agree and disagree. And we both have totally two different lifestyles at this point in time. And I really understand where he's coming from because I was in the commercial real estate with my ex-mother-in-law for a while. And a lot of my closest friends are in real estate. And also at the same, so are my family members. And then I think on the flip side, he may look at me and go, wow, this guy's kind of crazy. He just does whatever he wants. He could care less. He's, as much, I like fitness, so does he. But I think I look at things differently than he does entirely. And I think he likes that. And I kind of like the way he looks at things entirely different when it comes to a lot of things. And he's very creative, which I really dig. And he's not afraid to tell me, you're full of shit. Do this, I like that, I don't like this, let's try this. So it kind of really works right now, and we're not exhausting each other. We may do a show in the future, a video, a YouTube thing. So that's kind of what's going on with me, I guess you could say, and between both of my platforms as far as those two go. And I'm sorry if I confuse you, but I'm probably never going to be the guy that does sports every day. I'm not the guy who's probably going to be talking politics every day. I may talk something for a few weeks, a month, who knows with me, then you may never hear me talk about it again. I'm going to probably always be doing something where I throw my 2 cents in, and I'm a big mouth and saying, or calling people a jagoff and this and that. That's who I am. So it's really hard to change my personality when it comes to that. But I just wanted to do a podcast on this because I think a lot of people, and I also should say, I had a lot of subscribers lately come on YouTube, and I thought, I asked a lot, and then word of mouth, and I'm like, oh my goodness, they started to get more and more and more, and I'm like, oh my God, in the next week, I'm going to lose probably half of them once they listen to my material, if they do listen, or watch, and I didn't lose many, and then I got some more, and I didn't lose as many, and then I think I lost one, so I was like, what the hell is going on here? So, if you are out there and you listen to my podcast or my YouTube, I greatly appreciate it, man. I really do. I work hard at it. I think a lot about it. And for the first time in a long time, I guess the last time, when I was making films, let's say, it takes so many years to get it, finished. And then when you're even finished, you're like, now what do I do with it? Even though, you're distributing it, or, you get a distribution deal or whatever, or you get a film on YouTube or whatever. People are watching it, but you don't, it's kind of over, I guess you could say. And even writing a book, you write it, you send it out, you get reviews, and you love communicating with people, but it's kind of over. What I've liked about having my own YouTube channel and podcast is it's been continuous. And I also really get to interact with other people. They can comment, question me, and I love the interaction part of it. And that's what I think keeps me going. Because there's been I remember a couple months ago, even with my podcast, I'm like, after I did all those interviews and it plummeted, truthfully, I was like, wow, I'm either horrible at doing this or just, I don't know what it was. I said, let me take a month off. If I miss it, I'll come back to it. And I kind of did miss it. But I said, I have to go back to getting it the way I want it to be, simplify it, and get back to talking about what I want to talk about. Not getting caught up talking about what others want to talk about, or their products, or their businesses, or their platforms, or everything else. Even though that's cool in the gang, I dig it, but it wasn't for me right now. Maybe in the future I'll go back, or maybe if it's a different setting. It seems like if it's in an office and it's one-on-one with somebody, I really, like my co-host Robert, we do that sometimes. That's way better. The Zoom call felt a little too distant. I didn't like, the audio a lot of times, the lighting, it just wasn't working for me. And I also think sometimes when people are on a Zoom call, or what we were going through sounded a little bit, I don't want to say phony. It wasn't phony. It was very authentic. It just was very almost, I think people are just, I'm not saying performing, but on both ends, we're kind of just watching our P's and Q's, where when I get into my podcast and it's just audio, I don't give a shit. I let it flow. It's just different. I'm not caught up in maybe the way I look on a Zoom call, or you're just staring at the other person for an hour. It didn't feel that authentic to me. I'm sure I could get used to it. So anyways, that's what you get with me. If you don't like it, I understand completely. I'm a crazy bastard, and I usually speak my mind. Right or wrong, you're going to basically hear what I'm going to say. And usually in my YouTube videos and my podcast, you're going to see me right at that point in time exactly what I'm doing. I'm not going to be a guy who all of a sudden says loves fashion. I'm going to be talking a lot about fashion during, say, a pandemic or COVID, when all I'm doing in Florida is walking around in fitness wear, because I have to talk about kind of what I'm feeling at that moment and living. Same with my videos. I can't keep pushing something. I could. I don't feel it. I want to go again where my energy leads me and where I feel the most comfortable. So sometimes you'll see a video, maybe I am dressed up in a 3-piece suit and I'm at New York, Chicago, LA or something. Then the next one you're seeing me and I'm by a pool with shorts, and sometimes I'll I'm wearing a shirt. So I am an extremist when it comes to a lot of different looks, videos, subject matters, and everything else, and it's probably not going to change. So if you like surprises or you never know what's going to happen with me, I'm probably your guy. If you want somebody who's going to be consistent talking about a certain subject matter on YouTube or podcast, that's definitely not going to be me. But I do try to stick with fitness a little bit because people seem to like it. But anyways, I'll wrap it up there. If you get a chance, check out my YouTube channel. It's Rich CELENZA. You're obviously on my podcast, or you may actually be listening to my podcast on YouTube as well. Never thought about it from that flip side. Anyways, I'm on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. If you want to connect, please reach out. You can find out all my other information, richcelenza.com. I have a program out called Mastering Self-Confidence. It's to help men, obviously, with confidence. Not obviously, but it is that. Yeah. Anyways, I'm going to wrap it up there. Take care, and I wish you nothing but the best.